Switched on my radio, I heard nothing but noise.
Hi, I'm Jim, W6LG, your ham radio Elmer. Welcome to my radio room in Rockland, California. As we've discussed in the past, ham radio has probably got three important parts. One, it's a licensed radio service. Two, it's a hobby with an almost infinite number of things that can be done. And three, it's a friendship between other ham radio operators that transcends countries and religions and languages. And truly, you can make friends all over the world. And right after this break, we're going to meet my friend in Qatar, A71AM.
Switched on my radio, I heard nothing but noise. Spent all this money on all these toys. My tower is high, so my signal you should not lose. But when the numbers are low, I get the bottom of the cycle blues.
AM from W6LG. Good evening, sir. Good afternoon.
Well, good evening, Jim. Thanks very much for making this interview. Although we're, I think, 11,000 meters apart. You're in the morning now, and I'm here almost 10 p.m.
Yeah.
It's 10 p.m., 10:09 p.m. local time.
It's 12:09 here. And the other interesting thing is, I think we're going to be a degree hotter.
Yeah, that's which surprised me, Jim. Yeah, I never thought you guys gonna be on a climate like that more than us.
Yeah, but our nighttime temperatures will be 22, 23 degrees, 75 or so. Now for you, that doesn't happen, I guess, at night. Yeah. What's the nighttime what is the nighttime temperature typically? If it's 42, 43 degrees, what is it at night?
No, at night it does drop. As you know, weather-wise, desert is amazing how on the daytime the temperature goes very high because the ground is dry, and then all of a sudden on the night when the sun set, then it starts the cooling down quickly as well as it being heated quickly. So it does drop nicely, but not very, not very much, but much you can feel the difference between the daytime and the nighttime.
Now, in Qatar, I've noticed that there are many areas with a lot of plants, vegetation, beautiful landscaping, park-like settings. Where does the water come from to irrigate? Does it come from deep wells, or how do you? That's really off topic for ham radio. Well, where do you get the water?
Yeah, well, the water is from two sources. One is the deep wells we have, but mainly from the sea. So because Qatar is like a peninsula, three sides is the water. So they run not far away from me on the west side of me now, about 19 kilometers the sea, and there is a big station there which runs and feed all those areas around here, thanks to the government. And there is one by Doha city, which is the capital as well, or more than one, which feeds in there. But those is the main water.
And Doha's got to be one of the most beautiful cities in the world, with its ancient and modern architecture. So it's a beautiful place from what I've seen. And there behind you in the picture is a mosque that your father helped build. Is that right? Yeah,
that's a mosque. My father built.
Quite a difference from today's mosques to.
Well, still we're trying to keep it, of course, through all those years. We've been doing like every 10 years or so. We keep it as it is, but it does take time and a special work, because those guys who built it on those days, and the material they were using is not anymore exist here. So
Okay.
yeah.
Back to ham radio in your country, approximately how many guys are on HF? Uh,
Licensed guys is around 100 licensed HF amateur radio operators. But from time to time, you'll find always there is like 10 are active,
okay.
and some others are really busy with work or something, but they come seasonal as example. But Corona has pushed most of
Uh,
us to as everywhere else, Jim. Everybody pushed back to his station and enjoying the hobby, because mostly I would think worldwide is, I don't know, maybe 80% of worldwide is working from homes. So we are lucky to have this hobby
yeah.
because we can operate our stations. Maybe in the previous time before COVID-19, we did not have the time because we were always busy going to work, doing other things. But because of COVID-19, we're sitting home. So people are on their stations and
Yeah.
making calls. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, that was the case for about a year and a half. I didn't leave the house but a few times, and basically, ham radio was my way to communicate with my friends like you, that I feel very fortunate to be able to talk to. Um, Safe, of the 10 or so that are active, I remember one from way back, and that was A71 Alpha. Is that right? AA?
Uh,
Was that one of the first guys on HF that was
oh
a
yeah,
Camry?
Alpha 7 X-ray Echo.
X-ray Echo. Okay.
Yeah, that's was one of the guys who was active from this side. Yes.
Yeah. A couple of questions about operating come up in your region, because you formed an association with other countries, and your friendship with those in the other countries is really close. You guys get together, you share a meal, you share information about equipment. Tell me a little bit about how many are in that regional group and what it's called.
Yeah. So as Qatar, one of the members of GCC, we call it uh, GCC, is a Gulf countries united here. We're 6 countries where we travel in between without visas, without anything. And that's Kuwait from the north, and Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Qatar, UAE, and Oman. So that's 9 Kilo 2, and Hotel Zulu, and Alpha 92, and Alpha 71, and Alpha 61, and Alpha 41 as well. So we have, in 2010, Qatar Amateur Radio Society has the pleasure to union everybody and have a club for the GCC.
Mhm.
So that started in 2010. It did not really done very well because people are busy doing other stuff. But nowadays we have, in every country, we have a society. Numbers are varies according to countries. I would say like Saudi Arabia, Hotel Zulu, they have around 500 licensed.
Really?
Yeah, and the active is the same. I don't know, maybe 50, around 50, because Saudi Arabia is a big country and a huge number of people, population there. Not like us. Saudis are almost 30 million, where we are here in Qatar. It's only 2.5 or 2.6 million people lives in Qatar.
Which
So
would be a big city in LA, like LA or something. So your population is relatively small, but your friendship with the guys in those other countries is very tight. When I've seen pictures of you guys getting together, it's a very cordial, and often that group, when they get together, it seems like they're surrounding food. a big plate in the middle, and everybody takes from, which is a friendly way to eat. Everybody can take from that plate. Am I right about that?
Yeah, that's our culture here. We eat from a big plate all together, and we use our hands, and that's our culture here in Arabia.
Yeah.
But when we receive some guests from different culture, like you, Jim, or somebody else who usually eat with a fork and a knife and a spoon, we provide him those things, and we make sure he's comfortable to do so.
Yeah.
And I remember some of my friends who visited me from Europe, and I always ask the guest, if you like, if you want, we can eat on a table like you do back home. But if you like our way, we will do it our way so you can experience something new. And I never found anyone came across ask me to eat on the table. Everyone is excited to eat on the floor, putting that big plate and all together eating together. Yes.
What would be on the big plate? Would that be some kind of meat?
Yeah, it's a full sheep, grilled mostly, sometimes cooked, sometimes, but I prefer the grilled one.
Hmm.
Yeah, but could be, mostly is like that. Yes.
I think that I think what I'm saying is that whole thing, guys sitting in a circle, eating from the same plate, using their hands, is a sign of friendship between all of them are friends. Yeah, the word unique, we should be very careful when we use that because it means there's only one, but it is a very different way to eat. And you mentioned knives and forks and spoons and things. On my side, um, there were very strict rules about how you held the knife and the fork, and the way you used it. The knife in one hand, in the left hand, and the fork in the right hand, for example.
Yeah.
Or anyway, there were rules that you had to follow as a child, and they were called table manners. They were called table manners. All right, off of that. In I have a question about pileups, and A71 for many is a very rare country for us to work, especially from California. What advice would you give to someone who's maybe has a dipole or vertical, but they've got maybe a kilowatt behind that, but it's a difficult path and there's a pileup? Is there any strategy? And you're dealing with interference, especially from a particular region of Europe that doesn't seem to understand when you say North America, they still will call you. But is there a strategy that works? Do you want to hear the whole call sign? Do you want to hear what helps in a pileup?
Yeah, well, you remind me. I remember what will help on the pileup is like if you call whiskey six to get attention. I would, if I hear the whiskey six, I know. But unfortunately, Jim, there is some people. I wouldn't mention country as you did there. Thanks for you not mentioning countries. But there is some countries they would say whiskey alpha, and then you say to him, yeah, whiskey alpha, go ahead, and then he will start blah blah blah, and then whiskey alpha. So he just need to track you, or he would say whiskey 6 alpha kilo, and then he will add the one letter before the whiskey.
Yeah.
After you answer him. So
as a way of not identifying the country, there's an expression called meatballs, and sometimes we call somebody maybe who's a bad pilot, bad at what he does, a meatball. Enough said.
This on pileups or when we DX from this side. Normally the guys are really, would love to speak like you. Everyone would like to speak to somebody far away, a distance, far away distance to to work as a DX. But as you know, we between us, Qatar or the region in general, and you guys is Europe. And if we get Europe standby, then we easily can work you. But what I do myself is I always, I know it wouldn't be nice to say only CQ North America or outside Europe. Then I get all the people I know, they're listening to me, and I have many friends from Europe, very nice gentlemen like you, Jim, and ladies as well are there listening. Wouldn't be nice, and it's not my way to do so. So what I usually do, I would say, okay, guys, I'll work Europe for 5 minutes, and then I will work outside Europe 5 minutes. Or I would say, I'll work 5 stations from Europe, and then I'll work 5 stations from outside Europe. And if they follow the rules. But even so, sometimes you get crazy people coming through when you're working outside Europe and they're calling you from Europe because they just joined the frequency. They did not take the time to listen. And the key in our hobby is really listen, 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 and try. What I do if I'm chasing a new DXCC, I listen to him and I make sure if he's doing a split or not. And then I beam to him short bath. And then I go and beam long bath. And I wait until I make sure I hear him better in long bath or short bath. And I make sure I get all my stuff is ready. So my antenna is selected right antenna. I have the right power to call, and I have the right moment. Sometimes you hear him splitting from 5 to 10 up. So you need to listen which one he's making a conversation with and to identify where is he listening now. Is he listening 5 or is he listening 10 up? And by doing so, you're ready to go as soon as he finished that queue. So politely saying your call sign and easily he will pick you up.
Yeah.
But this is common sense in our hobby, which is listen 90% and talk 10% is the way to do it.
I wish that there was more split operation. That used to be the rule. 14200 was the dividing line for the US, and the DX station would be below 14200. Another thing too is when a guy's operating split and he says 5 to 10, you may see a pattern in that he does 2 kilohertz, then he goes up 2 more kilohertz, and he goes up 2 more kilohertz. So sometimes it helps to try to figure out their pattern. I saw Dave K1ZZ, and is that Tom, W8CI?
That's Michael.
Mike.
W8CI.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you've been very fortunate to have, and that's, you've been very fortunate to have a lot of visitors. Very lucky. Oh, yeah. Now, your property is located at the intersection of 2 highways. And, and tell me.
One of the nicest story to really show how our hobby is, is like a big family. Anywhere you are in this world, if you, regardless the language, regardless the culture, regardless the religion, regardless everything, as much as you are an active hand and you made many QSOs with everybody, you will be surprised. Anywhere you go, you just see, when I travel, I always look outside for antennas. And when I see an antenna, I go and knock at the door. Hey, I'm A71AM. Hello, hey, come in. It's just like you know him from long time. And he shows you his station and you can operate from the station. And, he does and show you around and host you, which is really nice to see. One day, and the motorway is not far away from here. And as you know, my antennas stands very well, which is in here. So the antennas very well stand in here and then Alpha 7, 1 Alpha mic. And of course, they easily can, spot it from the motorway. One of the days, that professor, he's from the United States. He was going to the beach on the west side, and he was on the motorway, and he saw the antennas. So he took the bridge and came across and drive himself until the door and knock the door. And then one of my workers here in the farm went to him and he says, yes. He says, is the owner here? He says to him, yes. And he came to me inside and says, sir, somebody on the door want to speak to you. And I went, and there he was. And he just says to me, hey, I'm Kilo 4. And straight away say, oh, I'm A71AM. Hello, how are you? Come in. And we had coffee together. He had many pictures here on the station. And since then, he visited me twice or three times. Yeah, and it is a big family. I always call it. Ham radio is a big family. Everywhere you go, you have friends of the hobby. Yes.
And it's a family that gets along with each other. That's
Oh, yes.
yeah. And if you, I know that you've had help with your antennas when you've asked your friends and neighbors to help you who are ham radio operators. Saif, I'm going to have to bring this to an end because our time is limited. Now, a question I want to bring up, which is interesting for me. When I talk to guys in other countries, they do use the expression ham radio. Is that common in your region to say ham radio, or is it more common to say what do you refer to your hobby as, to the hobby side of it?
Yeah, it's ham radio, Jim.
Okay. And do you know where that came from? The expression ham?
Well, there is well, there is many. I heard many stories about it, which you really heard about. Yeah.
Yeah. So the expression in English would be ham-handed, or a bad guy sending telegraph messages. Saif, it's been fun to meet you. I would like to do this again another day, but on the next one, if it's okay with you, I would like you to show your Maestro and the remote system that you've set up, and that you have an amazing station, not only in A7, but in Morocco, right?
Yeah, I have Charlie November 2 AM, as you can see behind me.
And and sometimes you have operated both of those at almost the same time. Left, right, left, right, left, right.
Yeah, as you see behind me there on the picture, I was using both stations on the same time, and I was surprised. I made many surprises for friends in Europe and in US as well. And I called him at front second. I said to him, I would like to check another thing with him. And it's usually people would thought of checking another antenna system from the same location.
Right.
Well, I am different.
Yeah.
I'm checking another station from another country, 5,000 kilometers away from me. And that is a big surprise for people. And some people says to me, you're remoting Morocco now. And I remember I was in London and I was on the Hyde Park with my iPhone, and I called a guy in Germany from A71AM. And then when I finished QSO with him, all of a sudden I called him again. And he says, is that you, Saif? I says, yes, but this is Charlie November 2 AM. And he says, and you're in London? I says, yes, I'm in London, but I'm remoting both stations. How you copy me from Morocco? And he says, wow, 592. And I was surprised, yeah.
Yeah. Now, who was the German station you were talking to? Do you remember?
I think it was Delta Lima 1 DX.
Oh, Erwin.
Yeah.
Erwin's been to my home a number of times.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a very fun guy. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I have it in record.
Yeah.
In my iPhone.
He and DL1DX and DF2PY and DK8PJ and DJ0. Oh my gosh, I've forgotten.
Big stations.
Wolf, yeah. Well, Wolf is not so big, but the smaller Wolf. Anyway, I can't think of the guy's call, and I apologize. It's been fun to talk to you. The people of you may not know, but the people in Qatar are probably the most generous of any that you will ever find, right from the top on down. And that extends to the amateur radio operators in that country too. So if you have a chance to talk to Saif or another one on one of the bands, and one thing I was going to end this with, our ability to talk from California and North America to A7 is going to get better and better and better as the months go by, because we're going to see more and more sunspot activity. The prediction for this next cycle is better than the prior cycle. So we may have those long path openings again, and we may have great openings. Say, thank you for your time. You've had a long day. You did an interview with another group in Virginia, the Vienna Wireless Society, an incredible group. I thank you for your time today.
First of all, thanks to you, sir, for giving me the opportunity to be with you there in your YouTube channel. We really appreciate what you did for our hobby gym. There is many beautiful YouTubes in your channel there. We refer to from time to time to learn about stuff. And sometimes I use it if somebody asks me a question complicated, I cannot explain to them. I just tell them, go to W6LG YouTube channel and you'll find it. And allow me to say thanks to all the followers of your YouTube channel. And really, I'm sure you appreciate that, and I do appreciate that. And as you know, Jim, you're like my brother, and we share a lot of things in common, and we've been friends for a long time. And maybe, I promise you, one day I'll surprise you guys.
Yeah. So,
Thanks very much.
yeah, what's running the background here that we didn't mention is that Saif and I are very close. We are like brothers, and we talk frequently. And it's one of those things, one of those three legs of amateur radio that you never plan on happening, but it happens. And